Hey there trainers, welcome back! You're with PewterCityJim, and today we're going to take a trip back in time to the Paleon region. That's right folks, Fruity Art, a Fakemon creator and fellow PokeTuber who you all probably already know, is holding a contest requiring DLC Fakemon designs for his fan-made region, Paleon. You can check it out in the description. I have the contest and the Pokemon Amber playlist linked there for your perusal, and I think you should go check it out. Gabe's not only a great guy, but an excellent creator whose work is pretty amazing. He's also been a really great supporter of my channel, which I've always really appreciated, so I put extra effort into these guys. I hope you like them, you hoopy fruit. But before we do that, just a little reminder. On this channel, we do have our own Fakemon series I'd love to take a moment to promote. There's Sola, a region based on Southern California and the surrounding areas, and we also have Bootleg Boutique. That's where I take bootleg Pokemon toys and turn them into Fakemon before making some art to depict them in their natural habitats. If either of these things sounds like fun to you, I'd love it if you could drop a glob of amber on that subscribe button to encase it in time so that the bell icon may be resurrected at a later date. If you could take a raptor-sized chomp out of that like button, it will keep you sustained until the next ice age, and let's hear some Tyrannosaurus-style roars down in the comments. Anyway, let's take a little field trip into the distant past. A little island vacation, if you will. A journey through time and space to arrive in the land of the dinosaurs. So, for me, the Paleon region is a perfect mix of things that I love. Pokemon, of course, but also Jurassic Park. The movies, the books, the games, I love it all. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, who's from my very own country of origin, New Zealand. An absolute national treasure. Funny story. When I was a kid, I discovered that my local library had a copy of the Jurassic Park novel, the original story by Michael Crichton, which the movie was based off of. I was ecstatic. Anyway, at the time I had a habit of reading at the dinner table. I took the book to a restaurant where we were having dinner with some extended family and was told I wasn't allowed to read at the table. It's rude. Talk with your family. They love you, says my mom. I agreed, but the book was in my lap and I was reading between mouthfuls thinking that it was going unnoticed. It wasn't, of course, and my mom leaned over and says, "If you keep reading, I'll send you and your book to the car and you can just wait for us to be done." Now, this was obviously meant as a punishment, but see, Mom had made the mistake of parking under a streetlight. I promptly snagged to the keys and dashed for the car, happy to finally be left to read in peace. So long, family, I've got dinosaurs to read about. So, kind of a bratty thing to do, but man, I enjoyed that book. Anyway, getting to design some dinos makes me extremely happy. My first set of entries is a two-stage line based on my favorite of the Woo hybrids, Stegoseratops. Of course, we have no story details for the DLC, so no clue if they would work for any potential plot, but hey, look at this dinosaur! It takes my own favorite dino, Stegosaurus, and smooshes its DNA into that of my wife's favorite dino, Triceratops, and man, if this isn't a chocolate and peanut butter type situation, I don't know what is. Peas and carrots, mac and cheese, these two dinosaurs were just made to be fused. Maybe somewhere in a research facility on one of Paleon's little islands, there's a Henry Wu type researcher who decided to take his mad science to the next level and smush some DNA together in a non-Galar way. But, we can't just make a cartoon version of this Frankensaurus and call it a day. Boring. Pedestrian, I say. I wanted to throw in some other concepts as well to try and make it a bit more interesting. I almost wanted to take some of the existing Paleon Pokemon and smoosh them together, but in the end I decided on something else. You ever just say a word over and over till it loses all meaning and just becomes like the syllables? It's a technique I use a lot when coming up with names and early concepts for designs. Well, the Cero in Stegoseratops stuck out to me, and it made me think of serrano peppers. Boom. There's our next piece of the puzzle. And yeah, okay, look, I know that a pepper-based grass-fire Fakemon is not new. Fan creators have been making them forever, and we even got one in Scarlet and Violet, even though it has kind of a lukewarm reception in the community. But you've never seen me make one, and hopefully I can do something kind of cool with it. I already knew that I wanted to do a two-stage quadruped Pokemon in the same vein as Numel and Camerupt or Choodle and Dreadnought, but I wanted the second stage to be massive. Tanky, bulky, and intimidating. See, the thing about Stegoseratops is it's a fighter. It can easily take down large predators, and it can even give Tyrannosaurus and similar dinosaurs a run for their money. Henry Wu designed it that way, and even has you force it to fight other dinosaurs in a DLC mission for the original Jurassic World Evolution Park sim. I wanted that to be present in this design too. But let's start with the cute little early stage. I wanted to give it a big round frill, something in the vein of a sun motif, just to double down on the idea that he's a warm little guy, being a grass fire type and all. Coupled that with a very simple dinosaur body plan to give a lot of emphasis to the face, this little guy is a brat. He stomps and stamps and charges and runs around making noise all day, and I really wanted that to come across in both his facial expression and pose. He's running around, uncoordinated, legs flying, looking for something to smash into with that hard head. I loved the idea of making the horns look like angry little eyebrows, and I colored them like peppers because the shapes just work really well. The plates on its back too are shaped like peppers with rounded edges coming up to a tapered point, and I colored them to look like ripening peppers. The Thagomizer on its tail is still in seed form right now. I wanted them to look like little pepper seeds ready to sprout at the end of the tail. This little guy is a nice bright green to insinuate that he's not quite ripe yet. Serranos, when green, are a little less spicy than ripe red ones, but have a really fresh green flavor. And here we have Serranotot, the hybrid Pokemon. This Pokemon never appeared naturally in the wild and is instead an unsanctioned splicing of two or more prehistoric Pokemon. This may explain why its temperament is so unruly and hard to control. Even still, it shows no signs of ill health and is in fact remarkably robust. While it can make fires and control grass, its favorite attacks are tackle, headbutt, and body slam. The ability is heat-proof. This reduces damage from fire-type moves. Hidden ability is Quick Feet, which I imagine is just it getting super mad and attacking harder if it feels put on the spot by a status move. The name Serranotot comes from the Serra in Ceratopsid, Serrano peppers, and Tot as it is a youngster. I imagine small herds of these guys running around, crashing into one another, instigating headbutting contests among themselves and other Ceratopsid-style Pokemon, or maybe Rhinosi, and all surrounding one or two much larger Pokemon. So let's get on to designing that one. Like I said, I wanted this guy to be large, chonky, massive, intimidating. A horned, spiked, and armored tank capable of going toe-to-toe with the likes of Primal Tyrantrum and Manasir. Which, yeah, it shares some similarities with, especially with that typing. Hopefully they aren't too close. Rhinos and Triceratops are examples of a pretty similar body plan. The frame shape was the most important thing for me to get right here. I wanted it to be boxy, square, and immobile looking. Weirdly enough, I was looking at images of not only dinosaurs but bell peppers while sketching because I wanted the shoulder and hip plates to kind of evoke the idea of cut peppers. Those angry eyebrow horns have become big and wide, sort of like a water buffalo. The nasal horn is now a stabbing weapon, and that tail has some seriously pointy, pepper-themed horns on it.
The frill is now something a little more reminiscent of a Chasmosaurus, also to make it look a little bit like a chunk of cut bell pepper.
The color scheme is shifted to be mainly red, with yellow and green taking a backseat for emphasis on the thing's fiery, spicy personality. Oh, also, per the video Fruppy made in regards to his rendering style, I tried doing it the same way with yellow and purple. I wound up doubling up on the shade layer for this particular Pokemon just to add additional contrast to the design. It's a little more complex than Serranotot, and I needed a way to draw the eye to certain features and create separations between larger solid areas of color. And here we have Serranothreat, the hybrid Pokemon. This unsanctioned splicing of genetic material is a slow-moving brute that has proved difficult to contain. It happily picks fights with carnivores and herbivores alike. It releases a spicy scent when agitated that can cause runny nose, itchy eyes, and flushing of the skin. However, once used to these effects, many researchers describe the scent as pleasant. Same naming convention as before, but this fellow has evolved from Pop to Threat. Now, for something completely different. One thing about Jurassic Park and Jurassic World is, of course, the theme park aspect. Now, Paleon isn't a park, and it's actually a serious sciencey place that does serious science, but it does have a touristy area. I should know. I'm someone you can fight in a battle-themed hotel there on Route 10. Bring it on. So I was thinking about the tourist aspect of the region and immediately started thinking about the most touristy place on Earth, Disneyland. Now, I love me some Disneyland, and one of the most iconic things about it is getting your picture taken with your favorite characters. Those big, goofy mascots are a really integral part of the whole experience, and, well, dinosaur Pokemon, an area for tourists, it's kind of perfect, right? My concept for this is, what if a prototype mascot costume was made and then abandoned? Maybe the design was a little off, or maybe whatever Chamber of Commerce runs the facility on Route 10 was like, no, this is a serious place with serious values, and this isn't aligning with our vision. What do you think this is, Hollywood Boulevard? But you know what every suit has? A designer. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into designing something you think is going to be really great, and then you get told nope, and the thing gets shipped off into storage somewhere, and you never see it again. Aw, that's a mood. All those positive feelings of creation smashed into negative feelings of abandonment. Quite the emotional whirlwind. So anyway, the suit gets filled up with that emotionally charged energy and comes to life as a ghost type. We've seen this kind of thing before. Bannock came about by being abandoned by a child. Mimikyu wears a costume to imitate Pikachu. While this new monster doesn't contain the soul of its creator or a dead creature in general, spiritual energy is enough to grant some kind of life in the Pokemon world. Also, to be clear, this is a mascot suit to be filled with a person and not an animatronic. I'm not trying to make a Five Nights at Freddy's character. No machine parts here. I was also thinking of Barney the Purple Tyrannosaurus at the time. I think most people who grew up about the same time as me are pretty familiar with this show. It used to be a big mascot-style suit, but it's all CGI now. I bet that old suit is sitting in a studio storage room or shipping container at this point. I hated the show when I was a kid, but I feel weirdly nostalgic about it now, so the idea of that big old costume getting gross and moldy someplace is a little sad. For me, at least. Your mileage may vary on that one. One last influence is, of course, the kaiju movies and shows of the past. Again, these were rubber suits filled with people. I can imagine my newest creation stomping around a city or research facility on Paleon, causing a ruckus the same way those rubber kaiju used to stomp through carefully made scenery. My previous designs were a little more serious, and I wanted to provide a range of character types for this contest, so I went full-on Goofball for this fella. It's what I would imagine a cartoon version of Primal Tyrantrum might look like, this guy here. And what if that cartoon version was then turned into a rubber mascot outfit? The browns and grays are swapped out for purples, a little homage to Barney, and blues, while the markings are simplified down to the basics. The flaming, fiery, and hot parts have just been made into a nice orange as well. The fiery pit that is Primal Tyrantrum's mouth has also been simplified down into some ridiculous cartoon teeth and a big pink tongue that has found its way onto the head of the spirit who has invaded this costume as a wacky hat. Because, who doesn't love a wacky hat? Speaking of the spirit, it's a many-handed little goober whose main body stays hidden while its head and shoulders stick up out of the wide-open mouth of our mascot. The head, with nothing to hold it up, has just kind of dropped back to allow for this ghostly goober to stick up out of its mouth. The visible hands are being used to guide the rompin', stompin', flailin', and wailin' appendages of this wacky dino. I went with an off-white for the ghost. Most Pokemon ghosts are kind of a dark color, black, gray, dark purple, dark blue, and I really just wanted this one to stand out from the crowd a little.
I also did a quick off-camera redesign for the hat just to make it look a little bit more like a Tyrantrum's tongue.
Here we have Gostume, the mascot Pokemon. It was abandoned in a warehouse. All the creator's emotions, good and bad, coalesced into this rubber suit, granting it a life of its own. It is a conflicted creature, seeking crowds and wanting company, but feeling mad about being left behind. It stomps around, looking for the sounds of laughing children. It tends to frighten them. The ability is Filter. It has some bulky rubber armor on, so it's less affected by super effective attacks. And there you have it, my 3 entries for the Pokemon Amber DLC contest. Gabe, thanks so much for giving us a chance to add a few new faces to this awesome region that you've created. But for now, that's all I've got for you trainers. Looking forward to catching you in the next one, but till then, take care. Bye!